Welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show, your one-stop shop for weird news, spooky, and otherworldly and paranormal shenanigans. We'll take a dive into what's going on in creepy pop culture. You can follow Creepin' It Real Show on Twitter at creepin_it. You can email us at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com. You can also go to our website, creepinitrealshow.com. Without further ado, welcome to this week's episode.
We're going to get this party started. Hello, welcome to the Creepin' It Real Show. This is one of your hosts, Christy. Do I need to do this every time we start a show? I don't know if we have any new listeners or if they even care what my name is. But anyway.
Boo, show us your boobs.
That's right. Here they are. I'm showing them to you. Aren't they magnificent? I actually had a guy on Facebook go, yeah, whatever, show me your boobs. And I said something like, I would, but my boobs are so fantastic that it would rip a hole in space-time continuum, and we don't want to like murder everybody. And he just kind of sat there, and all these other guys commented and were like, that was pretty awesome response, dude. He didn't like how he was too ignorant to really know, like, huh? I'm like, whatever, because they are pretty fantastic. Me and Moni have pretty fantastic boobs. I've felt her, she's felt mine. It's wonderful. So with that, the other voice on the other end is Moni, and she is in SoCal. So yes. San Diego, or are you even in a little town? She's moved quite a bit, and so I've kind of lost track where exactly
I'm San Diego-ish. I'm just north of San Diego, but on fire, everything. Yes. San Diego County finally went out, I think. Riverside County, I'm not sure if that fire's out. LA County, I'm not sure if that fire's out. I think there was one in OC, and I know up north they're still having issues. So air quality has been moderate to shitty around here. And I have had migraines almost every day. And we're all just like, coronavirus or fires? We don't know. We're just all like stuffed up. And it's good times.
Oh, my gosh. Yes. So she's over there on the on fire state. And I'm down here in the ignorant redneck that grows peaches state.
New Florida, I got to say. I love both of y'all. But wow, just some shit.
It is what it is. It's definitely one of those things where I'm like, people ask me where I'm from, and I'm like trying to think of another state around us that I'd rather say, and then I can't think of any other state. I'm like, well, Alabama, no, Mississippi, no, it's South Carolina. South Carolina, I'm from South Carolina.
To be fair, I was talking to a guy who was born in Scotland, and he now lives in England, and he thinks we're all crazy. Mm-hmm. So there's that. He's like, yeah, we just wear our mask here. It's not that big of a deal. I'm like, yeah, about that.
Yes, exactly. I hear you. I know it is what it is, y'all. And I just wanted to get caught up with Moni if she wanted to share any of her stuff. She's got a new job and talking about her nonprofit. She's moved into a new house. Everything's been really crazy for us over here. So we've kind of had to fit shows in when we can. So that's why at times you're not getting shows. And I think for some people, they're like, the times that we've needed shows the most are happening because everybody's bored. But sorry, we got to do what we got to do until our shit clears up.
Yeah, for sure. No, I do run that nonprofit Creators Assemble now. And we do two things. We just did a series of podcasts and literacy radio shows about how you can promote literacy through comics and graphic novels. I just want to put it out there in case anyone knows anyone. We are looking for both donors, private donors, and corporate sponsorships. So I know everybody's looking for money right now, but we are looking to sustain projects such as putting mentors together who will help at-risk kids, especially kids who had opportunities that dried up due to COVID, to put together art projects and writing projects that kind of help them. We've got mentors ready to do that, but we would like to get some financial help in sustaining it. So at any rate, creatorsassemble.org, and you can email us anytime if you're an educator looking for help with support of using comics in your classroom and why you should and how you can talk to parents and stakeholders about it. Give us a shout as well. And for the month of October, I know a lot of our creepers, this will apply to more of you, like to dress up anybody who's into cosplay and wearing their costumes and dressing up, we are looking to do just we're just going to promote you on our social media page. If you're a professional cosplayer, especially, we'd love to promote you. But anybody who just wants to send us their fun pictures and costumes, show us your boobs, but not really. I mean, it depends on your costume.
Yeah, I'm open to seeing some boobs if they want to share them. I'm for
Send
them.
it to us.
More the merrier.
Again, creatorsassemble.org. You can find out how to contact us and everything. But we are excited to show people's cosplay because it's super, super fun thing to bring everyone together this season.
Great. And cosplay, does that mean that it's a science fiction or comic thing?
No, does not have to be. It's any kind of, really Halloween time is perfect because it's, if you're going to be in a costume, you are cosplaying. But basically, if you're trying to be a character, a specific character, you're in cosplay. Doesn't matter where it's from TV or movies or books or whatever.
Awesome. Because I always wondered, what's the difference? And I guess there isn't one. So that's pretty cool.
I think people that do it more year round, and or some folks I've actually met that do it for a living or as a paid side gig, it's more of a, not just a Halloween costume, it's their cosplay throughout the year.
Cool. All right. Any other news from your end?
No,
Sorry.
not on fire currently. And I do work in comics now also in addition to that role. So I am slinging digital comics again with the goal of getting books into people's hands. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's always kind of been your goal. So in one way or other, you're always trying to get books in people's hands. So that's fantastic.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to just touch on something really quick because I think there's a lot of people out there that are going through, anxiety, mental health struggles, especially right now, whether it's something that comes natural, like your brain's misfiring, or you're struggling due to the pandemic or any other things that are going on, not paying bills, whatever it is that's going on in your life. I want to make sure that everybody knows that they have resources and there are people out there that can help you through whatever it is you're going through, because there's some really hardcore shit going on right now. And I think people deal with it in different ways. Some people, hole up and just struggle through it and don't seek help. And then some people immediately seek help. I think the key is identifying when it starts to hit you. So always kind of self-evaluate, because it does creep up on you. It's not something like you wake up one day and you're just debilitated, and with anxiety or depression. It just kind of builds slowly and you don't always see the signs. So anybody who's going through things like that, you definitely have resources in some way or another. And the worst part, I think, is when you are struggling with mental health or anxiety or anything, the last thing that you can do is reach out and get help. It is so overwhelming just to breathe, just to literally get out of bed, that then thinking about picking up a phone and finding a resource seems impossible. I've gone through my life, with mental health, depression at times, and I know exactly what that feels like. So no matter what, you just have to push through it and you have to get yourself help. If that means that instead of brushing your hair that day, you pick up the phone, then that's what you do. So I started going through, some pretty big problems, I guess, at the start of the pandemic, which sucks, but I hit early menopause, and some people just skate right through that shit and don't even realize they're in menopause. And then some people really struggle with it. And of course, turned into one of the lucky ones that struggled with it.
Lucky winner.
Lucky me. And it took me several doctors to find the problem. I did not know what was wrong with me. I thought it was in my head. I thought, because I was going to my doctors who I trust, and they're telling me I'm just fine. They're running all my blood tests. I did what I needed to do, and it still was not enough. And so I finally just ended up talking to the right person that recognized what was going on and ran my blood for the third time and sent it off to labs, and she knew exactly what to look for. And so sometimes it takes 3 tries, 4 tries, 5 tries to get your answers. And don't give up. And that is so hard to do when you're in such a bad place, that having to push through and like do those things when you're also just literally gripping to hang on to just normal brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, showering activities, that can be really hard. I wasn't that bad, but I was in some pretty bad places, and come to find out, I'm like, my body's starving for hormones. And so I've started the hormone replacement therapy, and I'm hoping that will help. I also was severely deficient on some different vitamins that, oh my gosh, when she started telling me the symptoms, I was like, yes, oh my gosh, like every single thing she was listing was me. And so my other doctors did not see those things. Like, I don't understand how. I mean, she put the labs down in front of my face and showed me my levels. And I'm just like, how did they miss this? This is insane to me. So sometimes you're not going to get the answers that you need, and you just have to keep going. So all I wanted to say is you're not alone. It sucks. Shit's going, wrong, whether you've been struggling with this just naturally because of misfires in your brain or something's triggered it lately. Seek help. Don't give up. We're here if you ever need to reach out. You can also contact SAMHSA, and it's a national helpline. They're called Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. It's a helpline. Just look it up online. There's a number. There's different ways you can contact them, and they can help you find a center in your state that will help you get whatever the help it is that you need. And if that doesn't work, then try something else. But please don't give up, because you matter. Everybody matters. Everybody's going through a really hard time. And whatever it is that you're struggling with, there is no scale of what's worse, just because yours might be smaller than somebody else's doesn't mean it doesn't matter. So the other thing that I learned is people that have these problems kind of live in the world of movies, shows, and books to get through, and that's completely normal and okay. So if somebody's giving you shit because you've been like literally watching 5 movies a day, that's, don't feel bad. That is what you have to do to get through. We're going to start talking about movies we should watch. And I have a shit ton of them to share, because that's what I do off and on, is to help myself get through, because thinking about getting up and washing my dishes at times was just too much for me. So
I want to co-sign on that. I
Yeah.
think you're really brave to talk about it, and I don't talk about it very
Right.
much, but I've really been having a hard time. And I have, like many Americans right now, little to definitely inadequate healthcare. So I felt
Yep.
like I can't even reach out. And I have definitely tried to get help in the past, and found that the psychiatrists and people that I've talked to, the counselors I've talked to, have not been the right fit. And that's kind of what Christy mentioned with her MD, of not finding, the answers there, and have to keep looking. And it's hard, because every time you pick one foot up and actually make it to that point, and you're like, this is going to be the answer, it's an even bigger letdown when it turns out not to be. So I just want to co-sign. I actually wrote down the resource that you gave us. So thank you, Christy.
Yeah.
I know those of you especially, everybody's having a hard time, but if you have little kids and you're having to get up because of them, like for them, I know that's my struggle right now, is, virtual grade school is a fucking joke. And
I can't even imagine. I'm not laughing because it's gotta suck. I'm just trying to picture somebody going through grade school on a computer screen. Like, that's just...
and thinking about what they're missing out on while you're also struggling means that you push yourself harder to get up for them. And it's just a vicious cycle right now. And it's very difficult to get out of. So thank you for bringing this up. And I will say to everyone too, is again, if watching movies or whatever it is, I don't get a lot of time to do that. I try to carve it out. But in the meantime, just cut yourself some slack. Whatever you can or can't do in a day, just try to give yourself a break. I'm an overachieving perfectionist type. I've been learning a lot about how a lot of the things that I do are reactions to trauma. Basically, is like my insane amount of independence, even when I have someone that loves me and would be willing to help, is all related to past trauma. And, I just got to cut yourself some slack on some of this stuff. So we will start talking about movies, but I wanted to kind of get a final word in, because Christy's always been so brave, and I didn't want to leave her as the only one talking about this stuff. It is okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, if you are not struggling with mental health problems, but you know somebody who is, and you're struggling to kind of understand what they're going through, I explained it to my husband one time, and I think like it really changed how he was looking at what I was going through. Because he couldn't understand why I wouldn't just get up and take a shower. I went through a really bad bout of depression when the kids were younger, and I completely neglected myself because every little piece of energy I had was spent getting up with them and making sure they had food, making sure I was entertaining them, making sure they were cared for. And that was all I had. That was all I could do. Housework was neglected. I was neglected, and he just was struggling to understand that. And so I told him, I said, one of these days, I'm going to wake you up in the morning when there's a dense fog, and I'm going to put a dog cone around your neck, and I'm going to put 100-pound weights on your feet, and I'm going to push you in a river, and I'm going to see how well you can just even keep your head above the water, because that's what it feels like. It feels like you are weighed down. You can't see, you're short-sighted, and you're exhausted all the time. And so it kind of made him understand a little bit that I'm doing the absolute high capacity that I could at that time. And it was all for the kids. And that was all that I was able to give. So anyway, with that also, I wanted to offer up an idea for any of the listeners that, religiously listen to our show and are kind of followers of the show. We do have a Patreon. Again, we have not been doing much with it because just churning out our shows has been a lot. But I was thinking of, for those who need help, if we want to do kind of a pay it forward for listeners where, those who can join Patreon, and we can do like movies on Netflix party with you guys, videos of reviews we can post on there, do like a little group interaction on there. For anybody who joins and contributes. And then we can take that money and apply it to the people that also listen that can't afford further medical health, or they have, their mental health medication that they can't afford, or they need to go to the doctor and they can't afford it. And I don't know, I'm open to some ideas. So if you guys have good ideas or what you would like from us, if you want to help, you can contact us. Well, you can contact us on our Facebook page, Twitter. We'll share all those with you later. But anyway, it's something to think about. And I would love to have that kind of support from the show, because you guys, we have some amazing listeners out there. So if you guys have any ideas, please let me know.
For sure.
With that, we're going to get on to the main attraction. I know sometimes we get comments. They're like, well, I listened for 15 minutes.
We'll need to do an edit like, fast forward 15 minutes if what we're about to say bothers you. That's what they do on Southern Fried True Crime, and I love it.
Yes. Well, I don't care if they are bothered or not. You're going to fucking listen, because there is somebody in your life struggling with with people with mental health. So if that's something you don't want to hear, you can fast forward. But otherwise, you should be listening, because whether you are or not, there are people out there that are. And I think the biggest fucking problem in this country is the lack of empathy. Nobody gives a shit about what anybody else is going through. If you're fine, then you have zero understanding that somebody else isn't. And we need more of that. So with that, you guys, we're going to talk about what you should watch, basically. If you're bored, or you are just struggling to get through, or you got some friends coming over and y'all want to watch something fun, we've got some shows that we either recommend or maybe not recommend. Everything on my list, I think you should watch it. Do I think it's my favorite? No. So I'm like, yes, watch everything I've got listed, but here's my finishing thoughts on it and why I wasn't a fan of it. And the thing with horror is it's such a huge umbrella. There's something for everybody. So just because I personally was like, that doesn't mean you won't like it. So that's why I say check them out. Give them your support. A lot of these movies are independent, because so many independent filmmakers are churning shit out right now because they know we need the content and this is their time to shine. So give it all a look and see what you think. And I would love to hear y'all's opinions about these movies and what your thoughts were. So the first one is called Yummy. And it's got a 6.0. My reaction to Yummy was meh, but here's the explanation for the movie. It says, an orgy of blood, violence, and fun in which a young couple travel to a shabby Eastern European hospital for plastic surgery. Once there, things unravel. It's partially in, what, Polish or what is this?
Oh, okay. So it's full Eastern Euro experience. Love it.
It's Dutch and English. They kind of go back and forth. It is definitely an ode to 80s slasher. It's pretty cheesy. I did get some laughs out of it. Again, it was worth the watch. It was just for me, I don't know. I'm actually shocked it has a 6.0, which is why I'm saying there is something for everybody out there. Enough people liked it that they got a 6.0. So it's pretty cheesy. It's a zombie movie. It was a different spin on it, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, anyway, something you should check out. The other one I know me and Moni both can talk about is Lovecraft Country. It has a 7.3, and I give it a definite yes. A young African-American travels across the U.S. in the 1950s in search of his missing father. I love that show. I think it's fantastic. It's really weird and different, and I think it pisses a lot of people off because it does deal with racism, and especially in the 1950s, but I think we all need to see that. I don't think it should be angry when we're reminded of how bad it was not even a century ago. You know, I mean, this shit was happening not that long ago. But what did you think about it?
I'm trying to, Lovecraft. Yeah, I love it because it shows, for people who don't like kind of political commentary. I mean, it's not political, I guess. It shouldn't be political, but commentary on society. It definitely is heavy-handed in that, but it is realistic to what can and did happen. So I like it. It's weird as fuck. It's described as, I forget what I've heard it described as for adults, but yeah, it's a strange show. It goes there whenever you think it's like not going to go there. And I tell you what, too, it's not just horror, but I definitely would say anybody's worst fear, they probably do something to make you uncomfortable, be it small spaces, be it long falls, all of that is in there as well. Agreed.
And then, what is her name?
Jesse Smollett's sister, actually.
She is gorgeous. Oh my God. Like, wow.
And her whole body and everything. It's ridiculous. And they do different styles on her, like from glamorous to regular day. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Watch it for her alone. She's gorgeous.
Journey Smollett. Yeah. She was in Birds of Prey and she sings in that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
She was a lot taller. She's so tiny in Lovecraft Country, but in Birds of Prey, they put her in like big shoes, big hair, like the whole nine. So
yeah. She's great. I love, but I really enjoy the show. It's different. I think I'm an episode behind, so I don't know what craziness.
Yeah.
I don't know what craziness is happening. It's like every episode, you're like, what's happening? Like, what could happen next? I mean, she was
in True Blood. Do you remember Nicole, who Sam, spoilers, ultimately marries?
Who? Oh,
Journey Smollett was in True Blood.
I'm trying. That's one of the shows I've been wanting to go back and rewatch.
Oh shit! Well, no spoilers then.
I've seen it. I mean, rewatch. Okay. Like, I want to go back and rewatch it. It's been so long since I've seen it. The little
lady that he ends up marrying that takes him away from the shit town is her. So.
Okay. All right. I can't even remember that. All right. And the other show I've been watching is called Dragula, and it's got a 7.7 on IMDb, and I fucking love this show.
I need to watch this one.
I love this show so much. I want to rewatch it, like the season. So I didn't get to watch season 1 because it wasn't available on Netflix when I went and watched it. So I just went straight to season 2. And I'm kind of bummed that I did that because it is by far the best season out of the 3. And so I've ruined myself on any of the other seasons. It is like I'm watching season 3 now, and it's good. It's just the cast in season 2 was perfect. Like when you get to the end, it took me like a couple of episodes to really get invested in the people. Now the show itself is awesome. It's described as the Boulet brothers host a competition of drag performers who don't just push the envelope, they chew it up and spit it out. With themes like zombie and challenges like being buried alive, this ain't your mama's drag competition. And boy, is that dude, when they lose a challenge, they have to get tattoos. They have to get pierced. They have to get their bodies pierced to stay in. Like they had to eat cockroaches or something. I can't. This is fucked up. And I like RuPaul's Drag Race, but this blows RuPaul's Drag Race out of the water. I loved it. And I
have to check it out.
I am begging one of the people that was in season 2 to come on the show, and he will not respond to me, or she will not respond to me. They will not respond to me. I don't know if he goes by he, she, or they. But I'm totally fine with that. But I'm going to keep trying because I refuse to give up. I'm obsessed with this guy. He's either going to have to like call and report me for stalking or come on the show. And I don't even care. So Bitch Pudding, if you're listening to this, or if you know who Bitch Pudding is, tell his ass to come on my show because I am obsessed with him and I'm dying to see what he's been up to since the show. He's amazing. He's the Georgia white trash of character of this show, and he's freaking hysterical. So I can't talk enough about how amazing this show is. It is awesome. So I don't know if you get freaked out by drag performers out there, whoever's listening, but don't, because it's an art. It literally is an art. And it is just, I have never wanted to be a drag queen more after watching the show. I just think it's amazing. And the makeup and the effects that they do on their own in this show is mind blowing. So just check it out. There's tons of drama. There's tons of special effects, and it's super funny. It's great. So by all means, give it a shot, y'all. You will not be disappointed.
Love it.
The next one on mine is Relic. It has a 6.0. I really, really wanted to like this movie. I did, especially with the theme of it. But I know what they were trying to do. So I'm not, and I don't want to shit on that, but I just didn't feel like they achieved it. The explanation is a daughter, mother, and grandmother are haunted by a manifestation of dementia that consumes their family's home. In context, it's scary. And the way that they did it, I understand what they were doing. It just was not a hit for me. My mother, my aunt, and my grandmother all have major mental health issues. My mother's in a mental institution right now. My grandmother should have been in a mental institution. In fact, she was in her 20s and had the electroshock therapy, but then ended up living in her trailer with agoraphobia for the rest of her life, until she went into a nursing home and then, eventually did die there. But I understand what the message is. I didn't really think it was, I don't know. I don't think a lot of people really could understand. I think they were trying to show a bridge of the horror and scariness and terrifying what it feels like to go through dementia, but I don't think they accomplished it.
Well, and if you want a scary movie about what's dementia and what's, possibly paranormal, Taking of Deborah Logan can't be topped for that.
Was a good one.
So watch that instead is what I'm hearing.
Yes. And, this one is to put a whole other spin on it. Everything that was happening is not the same in any way like Deborah Logan. It just was a hit and miss for me. But I think everybody should watch it because I think shows like this or movies like this, everybody gets their own interpretation from it. So somebody else might watch this and be like, wow, that really hits me, just did not for me. The Wretched, 5.8. This was a yes from me. A defiant teenage boy struggling with his parents' imminent divorce faces off with a 1,000-year-old witch who is living beneath the skin of and posing as the woman next door. I thought this was pretty original. I was pleasantly surprised. Sure. Yeah. Did you watch this one?
I feel like I did, but I'll be honest, I remember parts of it, but I don't remember the whole thing. But I remember it was a creepy concept, and I
Yeah.
do remember like enjoying the concept. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I thought it had some pretty good scenes. The boy in it is visiting his dad. They kind of have a wishy-washy relationship, and of course, nobody believes the boy when he starts seeing weird shit happening. So you always go through that kind of stuff. But I thought it was definitely worth a watch. I mean, I'm not saying it was the greatest thing ever, but it's definitely got a 5.8. And anybody who listens to this show knows Moni and I will not watch anything under. I've kind of changed it to 4.5 because I feel like sometimes people are a little too harsh on some movies.
Yeah.
So I've gone down to a 4.5. Anything over a 4.5, if I feel like it's a topic I'm interested in, I'll watch. So I think it deserves its 5.8.
Agreed. Mm-hmm.
This next one is not horror, but I thought it was really fascinating. It's a documentary, and I believe it's on Netflix, called John Was Trying to Contact Aliens. And it has a 6.2. And I said a yes, and I said it's nerdy because it's totally nerdy, but it's really kind of like, wow, this guy was invested. John Shepard spent 30 years trying to contact extraterrestrials by broadcasting music millions of miles into space. After giving up the search, he makes a different connection here on Earth. So this guy, like, I think he's living with his aunt or his grandmother. I can't remember, and his grandfather. It's either his aunt and his uncle or his grandmother and grandfather. And every penny he has is spent on equipment back in like the 80s, I think it is. On equipment, figuring out how to contact aliens. And he is so invested in it. And he actually becomes kind of a semi-celebrity with it for a while. But the people he's living with just are fully supportive, and bless their hearts. Like, they're just like, they let him build like an extra garage to house all his stuff and make it basically like his headquarters for contacting aliens. And so it's definitely, it's a short documentary. It's really worth a check. It's pretty entertaining.
Nice.
The next one is One Bedroom, and it's just 1BR is the way the movie is titled, and it got a 5.8. And I said yes to this one because it was a pretty cool concept. Sarah tries to start anew in LA, but her neighbors are not what they seem. Interesting concept, I have to say. I don't know if I was like, oh, this is amazing. But it was pretty creepy. And the ending, it was a fun watch. The ending was, I thought, kind of clever and cool. So you definitely want to check this one out too. Black Coat's Daughter. So I have seen this movie everywhere, and I would never watch it because I just wouldn't. But in times of crisis and you're desperate to watch movies, you'll turn to anything. It got a 5.9 on IMDb, and I give it a yes. It was clever. Have you ever seen this movie?
Sorry, I was on mute munching away, but I was listening to you. Yes, I have. No, I have not seen this one. I feel like I've seen it somewhere when you're saying you've seen it everywhere.
Yeah.
It seems familiar to me, but no, I haven't watched it.
You really have no idea what's going on for most of the movie, but it's still creepy because it's telling kind of two stories, quote unquote, at the same time. Okay. And so you're trying to figure out how these are intertwined, and finally, it gets revealed at the end. I thought it was a pretty clever story. It's got a lot of people we know. It's got Emma Roberts.
You know what? I feel like I pressed play on it one night and then we changed it, or a kid came in or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a slow burn. It takes some time to kind of start getting creepy, and then also trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. It's also got, I can't think of his name. Anyway, it's got some pretty good actors and actresses in it, and I thought it was good. It's worth a watch. I'm not a big fan of Emma Roberts, so it was kind of hard for me to watch. I'm not a fan of hers. I don't know why. She's young, so I'm not going to shit on her. I just don't see the big hype behind her. But that's just me. But I did enjoy it regardless. So
nice.
The second one is We Summon the Darkness, 5.1. Yes. So this one is, look, I went in here today when I was putting these descriptions together, and I looked at the reviews on it, and there are some really fucking harsh people about horror movies sometimes. Mm-hmm. I thought this was funny. I thought it was different. There's a twist. And I got, there's a couple of times where like these really random things happen and you're just burst out laughing because it's just funny. I thought it was good and it has really weird dry humor in it. And I think it should be higher than a 5.1. I think sometimes people take their horror way too fucking seriously. Three best friends embark on a road trip to a heavy metal show where they bond with three aspiring musicians and head off to one of the girls' country home for an after party. So it's pretty different.
Nice.
It's cheesy. It is cheesy, and it harkens back to kind of that 80s, 90s. I think it takes place in the 90s maybe, or the 80s. And I thought it was pretty funny and pretty scary. There were some scary parts in it. So I recommend it. I think it should be higher than a 5.1 personally. So
nice.
In the Shadow of the Moon, 6.2, meh. I read that because that's what I put. A Philadelphia police officer struggles with a lifelong obsession to track down a mysterious serial killer whose crimes defy explanation. This is an interesting concept. And it's not that I didn't enjoy it.
I love this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I've been desperately thirsty for a good sci-fi. Like, good sci-fis are so few and far between that I have been just really looking for one. And it's so hard to get sci-fi right. So I try to give a lot of credit where credit's due. I don't know if I'd give it a 6.2, but again, a lot of people really dig this stuff. So you guys might like it. That's why I'm like, please watch all of these and let me know your opinion. I loved the concept and I loved the twist and the story. I just thought it was shallow. It just didn't really like pull me. I don't know. I wasn't really invested in the story like I felt like I should be, especially with the twists that happened and things. I don't know. It just didn't really capture me. At the end, I was just kind of like, okay, well, I watched it. It's watchable. Cool concept. Just didn't really grab me like I thought it should.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, I've watched a lot of fucking movies, y'all.
You have.
When I read you this list, I'm like, damn, okay. Countdown, 5.4. I gave this one a meh too. When a nurse downloads an app that claims to predict the moment a person will die, it tells her she only has 3 days to live. With the clock ticking and a figure haunting her, she must find a way to save her life before time runs out. This was a good concept, I guess. I think the app thing, that just, come on, I don't know. That kind of didn't really pull me in, but I gave it a try because, again, 5.4. Another one definitely worth watching. It just wasn't my favorite, for sure.
Okay.
Code 8 has a 6.1 on IMDb. I gave this one a meh, too. A superpowered construction worker falls in with a group of criminals in order to raise the funds to help his ill mother. This was another one that has a pretty good concept for sci-fi. Again, this was me trying to be thirstily finding a good sci-fi. It didn't do it for me, but I think a lot of people, when I read the reviews, a lot of people loved it. So check it out for sure.
Show.
The next one is Vivarium 5.8, strange, weird, and I gave it a yes. I was kind of borderline on this one. A young couple looking for the perfect home finds themselves trapped with a mysterious labyrinth-like neighborhood of identical houses. I gave it a yes just on the weird factor. It's really fucking weird, like really weird movie. I was intrigued at the story. It's got, what's his name? The guy that was on the Facebook movie with the curly hair, the young.
Oh yeah, Jesse
Eisberg or whatever. Yes, yeah. And it's also got let me just look it up really quick because it's gonna drive me crazy. Hold please, Vivarium. Imogen Poots. Anyway, I thought she was really good on it. She was the movie. Like, her role in it was really good. She's been in 28 Weeks Later, Green Room. I've seen both of those. Anyway, she was great. I thought she did good. She was in Black Christmas. Yes. So I think just with her and the freaking concept of this movie, you have to check it out. So I said yes, just so you'll watch it. It's really fucking weird. Sea Fever has a 5.7, and it's a yes from me. I thought it was a pretty cool concept. The crew of a West of Ireland trawler marooned at sea, struggling for their lives against a growing parasite in their water supply. This is one of those like contamination type, shows but it's on a boat. So it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was different. And I'm just living for anything that is weird at this point. That is a different concept. I'm so tired of the regurgitated shit that, gets churned out. A lot of people get into this rut of when they start making these movies of recreating the same formula because it works. You just literally run it into the fucking ground. So anytime I see something different, I'm like, thank God, thank you for having a different brain and creating something new. This is a very controversial pick for me, and I want to say, and this is probably, people are going to think I'm out of my mind if they turn around and watch this movie or if they've seen it, but it's probably my favorite movie on this list.
Which one?
Assassination Nation.
Oh, yeah.
5.9. I say yes on this one. I fucking love this movie, and it's gonna, there's political topics in here, but they spare nobody. They make fun of everybody in this movie. It isn't just one side or the other. This movie just tears all that shit down. After a malicious data hack exposes the secrets of the perpetually American town of Salem, chaos descends, and 4 girls must fight to survive while coping with the hack themselves. This is supposed to be a tongue-in-cheek modern version of the Salem witch trials. The craziest part about it is, as insane as it is, it's so close to becoming a possible reality that that's what's crazy about it. I want
to make my daughter watch this. They're too young now.
Right, absolutely.
Honestly, yeah. It's a good girl power flick, y'all.
It totally is. Even though, the girls are, when you're watching this, you're thinking, how is this good for high school kids? If you think these high school kids out there aren't acting like what's going on in this movie right now, you have your head in the sand. Seriously.
You're being one of the parents in this movie, even the ones that seem like they're decent parents. You're in trouble too. But
yes.
Also, I wanted to say it starts off interesting, but kind of slow. Like, where the hell is this going as a horror film? Probably for like a half hour, you're like, where's the scary? But I will, just without giving any spoilers, liken it a little bit to The Purge.
Yes.
Would you say that's pretty accurate? Kind of a modern day Salem witch trial thing, Purge style. It's good. It is scary, sometimes jump and all that kind of stuff, but it also is scary. And like Christy said, that it could happen. So
yes. Yeah. And like Moni reiterated at the end, it's got a lot of weird humor in it too. And the ending, the very, very ending, when they're rolling the credits, it's basically the high school's marching band marching down the street, where all the aftermath of like blood in the streets weird. and they're playing the song from Miley Cyrus. I can't this in this house or whatever. Anyway, it's fucking hysterical, and it's crazy and violent and wonderful. I really loved it. I've watched it twice now. I watched it once by myself.
A trans actor in it who was like the first trans person on the cover of like Allure in the UK or something.
Yes.
And she's wonderful, and I think they do her justice. I do want to put out there, just in case this is a trigger, I know, like, as much as I love horror, rape stuff is really hard on me.
Yes.
And there's a lot of scenes where there could be rape, but there ends up not being. There's still like some other inappropriate sexual stuff, but nobody gets raped, so don't be worried about from that perspective when you watch this movie.
Yes. Again, I give it an A+. It's something everybody needs to watch. And if you feel uncomfortable watching it, it's speaking to you. And let me tell you something. I felt uncomfortable watching it, which is why I loved it. I want people to push my boundaries. What the fuck do I want to wrap myself in bubble wrap and learn nothing? Even if it's from a bunch of high school girls, like, I'm totally for it. So I made my daughter watch it, and I don't really know what her opinion was. She was kind of like, I think, in shock by the end. But I think she liked it, because she was looking it up and looking at all the people and was like, this is the craziest movie. And I'm like, yes, isn't it awesome? So moving on. So talking about my desperately need to find a good sci-fi, I thought this was a good one. I thought the actor's hot. Apparently he's very well known, and I just personally have not watched any of his movies. But
going to IMDb to see who this is. Yes.
yeah,
continue.
The movie's called Archive, and it has a 6.3. Yes, I thought the twist at the end was pretty interesting. I had already guessed it halfway through, but I still enjoyed it because I have a really horrible ability of guessing what's going to happen at the end, and I hate that, but my brain just won't allow me to just sit back. It has to go, okay, well, this is going to
Theo James,
yeah, he's hot.
Okay.
I have this really bad closet crush on Nick Vile or whatever from The Bachelor. He's an ass, but I find him attractive, and so he reminds me of Nick Vile too. So for some reason, I'm like, hello.
Well, you gotta get that hormone treatment somewhere, girl.
Exactly. The description is it's the year 2038. George Almore is working on a true human equivalent AI. His latest prototype is almost ready. This sensitive phase is also the riskiest, especially as he has a goal that must be hidden at all costs, being reunited with his dead wife. So he has his dead wife. This year, you can contact people 3 times after they die. They download their soul into like a computer, and they let you have 3 phone calls with them after they die, and then they move on. And so he's approaching his 3rd phone call, and he's desperately trying to build a robot to put her in. And hiding it from the government, because the government's hired him to make robots, but not to download his wife into. So he's hiding all of this. And it's a pretty interesting show. I liked our movie. I call movies shows, so I apologize if you guys are like, oh, fucking show, it's a movie. But yeah, I thought it was a good one. I thought it was one of the better sci-fis that I watched on this list.
Nice.
The next one is Dark Skies 6.3. I gave it a yes. As the Barnett family's peaceful suburban life is rocked by an escalating series of disturbing events, they come to learn that a terrifying and deadly force is after them, one of which they have arrived from beyond the stars. So this is an alien abduction one, or aliens in general. I thought it was pretty cool. I haven't seen a good one since The Fourth Kind, I guess it was. And it harkens to a little bit of that. It was pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
I've seen it, but it's been years. It's not a new film.
No, it's 2013.
I might rewatch it because I love good alien stuff. Plus, their last name is the same as ours. So,
oh, Barrett. I think I said Barnett.
You did.
And I even have my glasses on. Isn't that sad?
I hear Barrette and all kinds of different
oh,
shit.
Lord.
Like, it's like Grin and Barrett. Like, literally, it's that. Anyway, yes.
My next pick is The Monster. It got a 5.4 on IMDb.
I would give it better than that.
I would too.
It sticks with you, man.
It really does. I give it a yes. A mother and daughter must confront a terrifying monster when they break down on a deserted road. I ignored this movie forever because of the way a lot of people explained it on the reviews. They were like, this is less monster and more of relationship between the mother and the daughter.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Definitely monster. So,
yes, there's plenty of monster action. This isn't just, look, every movie has a plot. Every movie has a plot besides just the monsters. So to sit here and say this movie spent too long going through the toxic relationship between the mother and the daughter is really giving a disservice to this movie. Like, I was really pleasantly surprised, and I think it deserves better than a 5.4 for sure. I mean,
I also, as much as it stuck with me, found it, minor spoilers, found it uplifting for the little girl as kind of a metaphor of what children of abused and neglected and broken households go through, because I feel like at the end she relies on herself. That's the only spoiler I'm going to give, but that's very true of children that come out of abusive and difficult childhoods, as they end up relying on themselves. And but it was an uplifting way of showing that, she could do that.
Exactly. And when I was reading these reviews, when I would scroll past this movie a lot, many, many times when I'm looking for a movie because of the way people were describing it, because I'm reading it and I'm like, I've already had enough of a fucked up childhood. Like, I need to read a story about somebody else's. Like, sorry, like, I get it. It sucks. But if that's the monster, because they've been going, and the mother's the real monster, it's like, No, there's a fucking monster in this movie.
Monster.
Don't be dissuaded.
For a low budget, it's super, super fun.
Yeah, it was good. And there is a monster and he is scary and I thought it was great. So don't listen to those reviews. That's a good one. Check it out. Mm-hmm. Okay, this next one is so fucking crazy. It's an 80s movie and I had never heard of it. And look, I was watching horror in the 80s when my ass was like 8 years old. So I'm kind of pissed that this one existed for so long and I never knew. It's called Dead Heat and it has a 6.1 on IMDb, which I don't think it deserves a 6.1. I think it's good and it's funny and I recommend it, but a 6.1, you really have to like cheese horror. I would liken this one to Night of the Living Dead, but way dumber. But it had some really crazy, like, at the time, good special effects. Of course, now you look at them and you're like, oh, it's just really fucking weird movie. A cop and his undead partner must chase down the diabolical villain who killed him. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, just
sound weird already.
If you want to see a really cheesy, weird horror movie, check this one out. It's worth a watch. I can't say it's a 6.1, but it's a 5.0 for me. The Beach House, 5.4. I give this one a yes. I think it should be a higher rating. A romantic getaway for two troubled college sweethearts turns into a struggle for survival when unexpected guests and the surrounding environment exhibit signs of a mysterious infection. This one is close to Sea Fever, but at a beach house instead of a boat. And I thought it was a cool concept. I thought it was good. It's got like really good, they build up to a great story. There's a lot of drama going on, including like the shit that's happening in the environment. It's worth a watch. And, a lot of these are messages of let's fix the fucking environment. Things could happen, as things change. And I don't have an issue with that. This one was not overtly that way. It's just when you see a lot of these movies getting churned out, that's kind of the backwards message that, people are trying to give you. But yeah, I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was good. I think it deserves a higher rating.
Okay, then.
Now, I think I'm almost done, y'all. I swear.
And then it's my turn.
Whew, I am like out of breath. Okay, the next one is Spiral. It's on Shudder, 6.4. It's a yes. I loved this movie. A same-sex couple move into a small town so they can enjoy a better quality of life to raise their 16-year-old daughter with the best social values. But nothing is as it seems in their picturesque neighborhood. And when Malik sees the folks next door throwing a very strange party, something shocking has got to give. It was great. I loved seeing a same-sex couple. And I
like hearing you say this because I read this description and then I went to watch it and then I got some minor spoilers from IMDb's reviews and people were shitting on it. But hearing how excited you are about it, I'm going to check it out anyway.
Yeah, I saw those reviews too, but then I looked at the score and I was like, okay, it's worth a watch. And plus, I just whenever I'm about to go on Shudder, I go on Twitter and I look at what Craig Engler, the general manager of Shudder, recommends, and he recommended it. So if he starts really pushing something, I know that it's one of the good ones to watch. And that was like my overall like, okay, I'm going to check this movie out because I saw the same shit and it was really like, man, really? I think all these people don't want to hear about other people's struggles. Like, oh gosh, this was from the 80s or the 90s. Maybe it'd been the 90s, but same-sex couples were not as supported as they are now. And they're the talk that they're not married and there are people in this small town that aren't happy they're here but things aren't what they seem to be. And so it's a really fucked up movie. And I did not guess the ending to this one. That was what made me really happy with it. I thought I did. Several times I went back and forth and changed my mind. And in my very end opinion, I was wrong. So yes, I enjoyed it. So that makes me happy.
Yes.
Last one on my list is Monstrum. 6.0, and I gave it a yes. It's a Korean. Is it Korea? Anyway, it's in another language. I believe it's dubbed or maybe subtitles. Huh?
I said, read in? What's that about?
I know, you got to read on this one. Or maybe you just have to, maybe it's got dubs. Let me look it up really quick. I can't remember. I don't remember. Anyway, it might not even say. It was good. It was a good concept. It says I'm going to butcher these names. Yoon Gyeom is a loyal subject of King Jungjong of Joseon. He struggles to fight against a monster that threatens King Jungjong's life and a group of people trying to dispose of the king. There's a lot of different stories going on in this movie. There's some pretty cheesy, like, yeah, that, you know, they're people that find things funny I don't always think are that funny. I think they're cheesy and they kind of take away from the story. There were times that this was happening that it was kind of overdoing it. But didn't turn me off the movie. And I thought it was a pretty cool concept. It was different. It kind of reminded me almost of like Clash of the Titans in a weird backwards way. A lot of things happening that were not even realistic in any way. And that's okay because it's a monster movie. There is a monster in it. But you have to guess and decide who's the monsters, you know, and that's a whole, just kind of like all the other monster movies. There's always other monsters. There's not just one monster. There's lots of different monsters. So it was pretty cool. I enjoyed it.
Nice. All right. Well, on to the ones that I've watched. And granted, there are a lot fewer besides the ones that you heard that I've already watched along with Christy. Lake Mungo is an older film and it has a 6.3. And it was something that I peruse a lot of Facebook groups for horror fans looking for recommendations. And a lot of people were saying, you need to watch this one, especially if you like found footage, which I do, to make it seem like it's more realistic. But it's hard to find a good found footage. Anyway, 16-year-old Alice Palmer drowns while swimming in the local dam. When her body is recovered and a verdict of accidental death returned, her grieving family buries her. The family then experiences a series of strange and inexplicable events centered in and around their home. Profoundly unsettled, they seek the help of a psychiatrist and a parapsychologist. It's basically kind of like Poltergeist or any reality, quote unquote, reality ghost adventure type of movie. It's set in Australia. And I find it to be very slow. I find it to be quite boring, and I don't feel like the payoff is worth the time spent watching it. So that's my humble opinion. The sequel to the Babysitter movie, which is called Killer Queen, I, full disclosure, fell asleep towards the end of it. I'm a lot with these migraines, but what I saw 3/4 of the way through was not impressive to me to make me stay awake. And by that, I mean, it's more of the same, although it gets more shticky if you know what I mean, more kind of like gags and schlocky and more silly and more ridiculous. The first one's pretty ridiculous. The second one, it's just way over the top, in my humble opinion, which me judging things about being over the top. This next one is not a horror, although it's definitely a horrific in a lot of ways. But The Boys, I mentioned this before. If you are not watching The Boys on Amazon, you are missing out. It has gorgeous actors and actresses. It's based off of a comic series by Garth Ennis, who turned out to be not the best dude, but and you can tell by his depraved mind that that's not a shocker. But The Boys is a great series on Netflix. They've done a great job adapting it, and there's a lot of really good actors in it.
And where is this at?
It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And there's 8 episodes in the first season, and I would not recommend watching the second season without watching the first because it's confusing. It would be very confusing. It's convoluted, but it's great. It's basically that there are superheroes among us and they do really fucked up things and they're worse than we are, but like behind the scenes, but they have this big PR company that keeps them going and keeps their image squeaky clean. So check it out. And there's a bunch of people trying to stop them as well. Check that one out for sure. And season 2's been a lot of fun so far, but they are doing it one episode at a time for season 2, and people are giving it 1 star because they don't like the way the episodes are dropping. And I'm like, that's not a review for the actual show. Like, I don't know. It is hard to watch it one at a time though.
Okay.
One thing that did come out, all episodes at once, is called Ratched. That's based off of the Nurse Ratched from the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest book and movie. Basically, her origin story of how she became the quote unquote big nurse from Cuckoo's Nest. I didn't realize that there's actually a book that is the Nurse Ratched book for prequel to Cuckoo's Nest. I have not read that. This is from Ryan Murphy, and you will be able to tell that. It's got a lot of the same folks that are in American Horror Story, and it's beautifully shot. Every single scene and the clothing. Oh my God, the vintage clothing is gorgeous.
I love that.
But it is Ryan Murphy in that it can be very slow, it can be very talky, and then punctuated by, major violent or really go in there scenes. So I have had a love-hate relationship with a lot of American Horror Story. I've watched several seasons, and there are several that I've watched halfway through and bailed out on, and there's some that I haven't even attempted. So I'm just letting you know, I've only seen the first 2 episodes. I've enjoyed them, but I'm not like, oh my God, I need to watch another episode either.
Okay. I saw that, and when I was looking for stuff, and I can tell just by the trailer on Netflix that the color and the background, just everything is very eye pleasing. Yes, it's very pleasing to the eyes. And I love, what's her name? The main character.
Yeah, the one who's playing Ratched.
She's the one that's always in American Horror Story for the life of me. I can't fucking remember her name, and it pisses me off because I love her, but I've been doing this for like months now because thank you, hormones. They don't help your brain. I'll tell you that when you're starving for hormones. So I cannot remember her fucking name, but
I'm going right now. Sorry.
Thank you. Give it to me.
That is Sarah Paulson.
Thank you. God.
And you'll also recognize Cynthia Nixon's in it.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, so there's apparently going to be a cameo from Sharon Stone. I haven't seen her yet. Flynn Wittrock, you'll recognize him from Horror Story as well. He's in there a lot, and D'Onofrio is in it as well at the first episode. Anyway, I don't know if he continues to be a character, but he is. He looks terrible, and he's in the first episode. So,
awesome.
I have mentioned this one before, but this is one I've been trying to get around to rewatch because it's really short too. If you have not watched Host,
yes,
go to Shudder and watch it. Rob, what's that?
Oh, sorry. I don't know what happened there. I have 3 computers right now. I'm sure something's happening with one of them. I'm sorry about that.
No worries. So if you have not seen Host, it is amazing. It's only like 90 minutes or less. It's directed by Rob Savage. He seems great. I've interacted with him a little bit on Twitter. He's very responsive to fans. And apparently they're making another one because this one was so low budget and yet so fucking successful.
It was really good.
It's so good. Watch it. Honestly, I was also thinking I wouldn't need to pay that much attention. You should pay attention because when stuff starts happening, it starts going fast.
Same. I feel the same way. I was like, had my phone going and I was watching it at the same time because it's like a lot of build up. Yeah. And then all of a sudden shit starts happening and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? Like you're really, and I regretted not paying really good attention. So I went back and kind of watched through pieces that I didn't watch. So
I was going to say, now that I've seen it and know where some of the bigger scares are, I want to rewatch it and see if it still holds up for me.
Yeah.
But, and it's short and enjoyable enough that it's not going to take a lot of my life away, even if I don't love it the second time. But I really liked it the first time, and I'm excited to watch it again. I mentioned this. Chrissy, did you ever start watching I'll Be Gone in the Dark?
I watched the whole thing. It was amazing. Okay. Yes.
Oh, my God. You will cry. You will laugh. You will cry some more. You'll be scared and lock your doors about 12 more times at night. It's so good. That is the one that I've mentioned before. It's based off of the book of the same title by Michelle
McNamara.
McNamara, thank you, who was Patton Oswalt's now deceased wife. And we've talked about it before, but it also turns out to be a story of her addiction, along with the story of the, the original Night Stalker. Yeah. He actually, I just listened to a podcast with somebody who was his brother-in-law.
Oh my gosh.
Who didn't know, obviously, any of this.
I would love that one because I'm going to be traveling at the end of the month a lot, and I'm going to need some podcasts.
Short, send it to you when I get it. It was well done, and the brother-in-law wrote a book about his experience, basically being close to, being friendly with his brother-in-law all those years and not knowing what he really was.
Michelle, the girl that the movie is sort of about, has this obsession with catching. He's the Golden State, right? Serial killer. He was he was two of the serial killers they identified. That was one guy. They of course find out after they find his DNA, but she is literally dedicates her life to trying to find this guy. And it's tragic in what she was dealing with at the time, and something that it can accidentally happen. I don't look at her as somebody who was, when we hear about like struggling with drug addiction, we don't think of people who are literally just taking things that you can get easily just to stay awake and to go to sleep. Like when you're struggling with when to turn your brain off and when to wake up. And it was tragic that it happened, and that she didn't get to see everything she dedicated her life to come to fruition. But she played a huge part in breaking open this case. And when a cop literally a detective allows you to come to their office and pick up all the boxes dedicated to a case, that you are one extraordinary person. Like I would, the story behind that, and how she rents this huge, these Suburbans to come, and she doesn't know how much is there. And just I had the chills when I saw that, and just, wow, what a fucking story. You guys have to check this one out. Moni texted me and she's like, you have to watch this. Yes. I dropped everything I was doing and started watching it.
Everything you must watch.
And I started watching it all before the last episode was released, and I didn't know it because it showed in the list. I didn't know it wasn't released. I about had a fucking literal nervous breakdown when I realized I had to wait another week for that last episode to drop, and I was like, no!
I watched it week by week, and I was like, oh my God, it's Sunday. It's coming on again.
Yes. So it's all out now, so go binge it and love it and enjoy. It was great.
Yeah. So another one that the jury's out for me. It's also on HBO. It's called The Vow. I've heard good things about it. I've only watched the first 2 episodes so far, and it's a bit slow and talky for my boom taste. Have you watched it?
No, I've never heard of it.
Okay, The Vow, you would probably like it as well. It's about members of what turned out to be a cult, talking about their experiences. And I've seen other cult reality series like this that I felt like the first 2 episodes were a little more gripping, but I still think this has potential. I'm going to try a 3rd episode, and I've heard from some friends that I should. I have a friend who was in a cult briefly and said it really mimicked her experience and was very, very well done. So check it out if you get a chance on HBO, The Vow.
Okay, that sounds good. How come you're undecided?
No, because I've watched just the first 2 episodes, and like I said, they were kind of slow. It hasn't been like oh my God, I need to watch more of that yet. I'm used to watching things like Don't Fuck with Cats, where you're like, oh my God, I need to see the 3rd episode right now, or Tiger King, or that kind of cheesy, way over the top. And it's instead real people talking about real experiences, and it's tough to listen to, and it can be a little slow, but I've heard that it gets better. Evil Genius. I don't know how long this has been out on Netflix, but it is on Netflix. Oh my gosh, you guys. It's true crime. It's based off the true story of this crime ring that basically culminated in having this one older gentleman strapped to a bomb that nobody knew if the bomb was real or not, but he went and robbed a bank that way.
I saw this.
My God.
I can't believe I forgot about it.
It's so well done.
It is.
It's so messed up, and it's twisty turny. Talk about when I say The Vow is undecided, just because it's not over the top like Evil Genius, which is just twists and turns and holy shits, and yeah.
And nothing is what you think it is. Everything is so weird. You're just so weird. What? when people say that like the truth is stranger than fiction, like, or whatever what is the saying?
Yeah,
I don't know,
truth
whatever.
stranger than fiction.
Yeah, like these are the shows that prove that over and over
Yeah.
again. I mean, holy crap, that
And
was
you
a
have
great
questions.
watch.
It's kind of like a longer unsolved mystery. It's
Yeah.
like one great unsolved mystery, longer. So it's really good. I highly recommend. The first episode is extremely disturbing in one thing that happens, but yeah. So on Shudder, there is a series called In Search of Darkness: A Journey into Iconic 80s Horror. It's really long. It's basically, if you're a big horror movie person, especially from the 80s era, it's kind of like talking to your friends about 80s horror. It's kind of like a throw on when there's nothing else to watch. But what you could do is like keep a pen and paper next to it and kind of write down some of the, oh, I forgot about that movie. Oh, I've never saw that one. So that's kind of a fun one when, again, there's nothing else going on, because I'm ready for the glut that I'm about to tell you guys about that's coming up in late September and then all throughout October. But when you have nothing else to watch, In Search of Darkness is a fun one.
Okay.
And finally, for me, Random Acts of Violence. I think I watched this one on Shudder. I watched it on Shudder. And it's done by Jay Baruchel. It is his directing debut. You'll know him as like a minor character in Knocked Up and Pineapple Express and all those films. And it's based off of a comic book that I have not read, although it sounds very interesting. So basically, it's a Canadian-American slasher horror film based on the 2010 comic of the same name. The film is produced and directed by Baruchel, which I mentioned, who wrote the screenplay and it stars Jesse Williams, hot, 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 Jordana Brewster, who is still hot from the Fast and the Furious franchise. She is aging very beautifully. She's gorgeous. And Baruchel is in it as well. It basically features Jesse Williams as a comic book creator whose works become the inspiration. He really dark, really super slasher comics that he writes inspires someone to actually start committing the same murders. So it's an interesting one. It's fun. It's got a lot of cool social commentary. I personally liked it because he's headed to a comic book convention to sign, to talk about his books and to sign for fans. And that just, I'm having had many road trips with my friends to comic book conventions and talking about the things they talk about. It's fun. And then it's extremely gory. And I think I like blood and gore, but I honestly think that this could have done with a little more subtlety, only because it's so over the top that it kind of takes you out of it.
Yeah.
Where you're watching, you're like, oh, come fucking on. Like, that's not how, not that you're looking for super realism, but it's like ridiculous.
Oh.
And that's unfortunate because it's an interesting concept and it's well done, but it's so heavy handed that at the end you're just like, ugh. I just felt like I need a shower, not in a good way at the end of it, but it's worth a watch, I suppose. So check it out if you have the stomach for mega gore.
Okay.
And that's it for things I have watched. I've got some great recommendations, but I want to hear about books.
Yeah, so I haven't been reading too much, but I did want to give a shout out. We actually had Grady Hendrix on our show.
Chrissy didn't even know who we had. We had Grady fucking Hendrix.
I had no idea. And he's just gotten even bigger since we had him on the show. So we can say we had him on back when he was amazing, but not as well known as he's about to be. His movie or his book Horror Store, which I read and I thought it was good. I did not think it was his best book, so when I found out it's being turned into a movie, he's ecstatic, of course. And it's such a cool concept. It was a great book. It just wasn't my favorite of his books because I've read a ton of his books since we've had him on the show. And I love his writing. His writing style is amazing. He tells such a good story. And a lot of his books are based in the 80s and 90s. So if you're a Gen Xer like me, man, these things really hit home. And I think even millennials to a certain age really understand.
I can appreciate that stuff too, for sure.
Absolutely can. And even if you're younger, they have kind of a fascination with the 80s and 90s, like way more than we did about the 70s, like they find, because they just have so much access to what things were like back then, where we didn't really have much information at our fingertips. So they look back at like the 80s and 90s and they just think was the coolest, especially now with what they're going through, think it's the coolest fucking times ever. And I have to admit, at times I really, really miss the 90s. I dug the 90s so much. It was my era. So it's probably my favorite of my since birth in my 45 years. So yes, Horror Store is kind of an haunted IKEA concept. It's very cleverly written and very bizarre, and it's going to be a crazy movie. It really will. I cannot imagine how they're going to make that into a movie. So I'm really intrigued on what they're going to do. And the best part is if you decide to buy the book instead of getting the digital copy, it looks like an IKEA catalog. It's hysterical. Awesome. So that one is being turned into a movie. I recommend reading that one. My favorite of all of them was My Best Friend's Exorcism. It's the first one I read of his, and it is a great start to get you really hooked on his stuff. It takes place in the 80s, and oh my gosh, so many throwbacks to the 80s. It's such a great story. I really liked it, and I thought it was I can just so see. Well, I think it really spoke to me because I've talked about it on the show that I actually witnessed an exorcism, not on purpose. It was an accident, but still it really hit home to me. I was like, wow. So it really spoke to me, but it's also just a great story. So if you guys are looking for some good escapism in books, check these out. You really are going to like them. His newest book is called Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. That one is the last one I read, and it was really good too. And that one is also in the 80s, and it's really great. And it's kind of a second play on My Best Friend's Exorcism. Same neighborhood, same area of he's from South Carolina, so he writes some of his books in the Deep South. So of course that really speaks to me since I live in the Deep South. My friends are from South Carolina. We go there a lot. And when he's talking about Hilton Head, like the place that these neighborhoods are in is gotta be Hilton Head, because that's when he describes it. It's so Hilton Head that I can't even take it. It's great. And then We Sold Our Souls. I really liked this one too. And it takes place in the 90s with metal rock. And it is really cool and clever. A lot of his books are female empowered. I think all of them are. They're all female empowered. They are all female heroine, right? Yeah, heroine. Sounds like heroin, but heroin. Yeah, that's the right word. It didn't sound right at first, but he's very into girl power, and I love that about him. And he's a huge supporter of women in horror in general. I mean, if you follow him on Twitter, he's always talking about all these awesome 70s and 80s horror books written by women, because I guess women were like really strong writers of horror in the 70s and 80s. So he's always sharing all his picks from there, and he talks extensively about different stories that they've written. And you can just tell in his books that, wow, he's just all about women. Like he really, really finds women amazing. I mean, he said that on the show. Like he's like very much into women empowerment. So you guys have to check out his books. They're fantastic. You will not be sorry. This one is not a horror novel, but it really did get me through some really dark times. This author called Allie Broche, she has severe mental health problems, and she makes describing them is most hysterical and funny. Like you're just reading it and you're so related to what she's talking about, and she just kind of makes fun of it, but in a really great way. And she writes, like, she draws herself, and and you've seen the way she draws herself in a meme everywhere, because people have stolen the image and make their memes out of it. And it makes her miserable that people have done that, but there's really nothing she can do about it. But, you'll see when you get the book, Hyperbole and a Half. It's unfortunate situations, flawed.
I've read it. Yeah.
Yes, I love this book. I'm going to read it again because I pre-ordered her new book coming out, and I want to read it because this one is like 8 years old or something. She literally dropped off the face of the earth after this book came out. Because again, she struggles with mental health, and it's a lot and very overwhelming to her when she became well known. It was a big struggle. So she kind of dropped off the face of the earth, and then she wrote this other book, and now she's kind of coming back in and out. She's on Instagram, and she literally posts pictures of like cashews and like raisins and shit, and draws faces on them, and that's literally how she gets through. Like that's literally how she does social media. She's not good at socializing, and it shows. And I love that, and I love that about her. Like she's not going to push herself if she doesn't need to. She understands her limitations and she acts on them, and that's what she does. But her books are fantastic. Well, her one I've read, and I'm excited to get the next one coming out called Solutions and Other Problems. So if you're looking...
I actually want to mention about this book, you're technically reading a graphic novel, Christy, yes. And you have just hit the nail on the head for folks who aren't into comics and graphic novels, that, you know, illustrated books can really break down how, in a picture, how someone else is feeling. And, you know, actually that can be called a category called graphic medicine. Basically, any first person account of how you're feeling mentally or physically can be in the graphic medicine category. And it's a huge growing type of graphic novel. And this is a perfect example of one that's been around a long time that y'all have been reading and didn't realize you were reading graphic novels and graphic medicine. So this is what I do in slanging those comics.
Exactly. And even if you don't struggle with mental health problems, this book is hysterical, and it really helps you understand just what's in people's heads that are struggling. And the way she does it, it like makes it so normal and okay. Like at the time, this was 8 years or 10 years ago. I can't even remember when I bought this. My stepsister bought me this book because I was obsessed with her blog. She started on a blog, and it's probably still out there, called Hyperbole and a Half. And it was so funny. I would literally laugh until I had tears in my eyes. And then somebody was a genius and picked her up to make a book. And my stepsister, knowing how much I loved her, sent it to me. And when I started reading the book, she goes real hard in on how much anxiety she has, and depicting her as a child and her, you know, growing up, just how crazy her brain was as even a child. And she made everything so normal. It just thrilled me, because I was a crazy ass child too. I was neglected emotionally. I was stunted, and it just made everything so okay. And she had great parents. So I'm not just blaming my parents. I mean, sometimes you're just kind of emotionally stunted as a person, and that's okay. And she really made it so relatable. So I can't speak enough on how amazing this book is. And I'm excited to get her next one.
I guess that's me next, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I've mentioned this one before, but the series has picked up and become more outstanding. This is a comic book. It's a horror comic book. It's called Something is Killing the Children. And I'm excited because I was going to cosplay as the main character, Erica Slaughter, for Comic-Con, and now I can do it for Halloween because she wears a mask, you guys, and she definitely carries a lot of weapons and a don't fuck with me attitude, so it will keep people 6 feet the fuck away from you. But what's great about this series is everything, honestly. There's mystery, there's intrigue, there's a little bit of romance implied so far, and there's a whole lot of drama and a whole lot of horror. And it goes there. So if you are disturbed by kids getting killed, it's literally called Something is Killing the Children, and it does it. It goes there. But it's great. The illustrations are fucking gorgeous, and I highly, highly recommend. It's getting harder to get a hold of, but the first volume is available, so you can buy it instead of having to try to read it. Basically, the way you watch episodes of TV, you can get the whole series available right now. So Something is Killing the Children. And then I am actually downloading this to read right now. I have not started, but The Haunting of Bly Manor is coming up on, which is, of course, the follow-up to the hit Haunting of Hill House, which over and over, when I mention that I go on these Facebook pages for recommendations, everybody's like, you have to watch Hill House. We've all watched Hill House. We're ready for the next one. So that's coming in October. But in the meantime, the book on which this story is based is called The Turn of the Screw, and it is available for pretty cheap for digital immediate download, and I'm going to read it hopefully today if I can get my kids to leave me alone for a minute. So recommended. I've heard good things. I feel like I've read it, but it would have been like high school times, so I'm checking that out. A book that I have read that I really enjoyed from an author that I enjoy, Daphne du Maurier is an was an author from back in a time when it was a lot harder to be a female author, and she wrote horror back when no women were doing that. She's a badass. Rebecca is both, it's categorized as like a supernatural. It's kind of horror, but what it also is deliciously soap opera, episodic, like, drama and shit going down. And they are making a movie. They have made a movie. It's dropping on Netflix at the end of October. It's rebooted. I did watch the original. It was Hitchcock's first ever film. It's well done. It starts off very slow, but I find it interesting in the drama. And then it picks up in the last half, and I think it's really good. But Rebecca, both the movie, which is not streaming anywhere, if you can find like the DVD to get somewhere, it's fun to watch. By Daphne du Maurier, I highly recommend reading the story. It's a relatively short story. I don't believe it's a full novel. And Daphne du Maurier has a ton of different other stories that I would recommend you reading if you're into horror. So yeah.
Nice.
Upcoming shows that we're excited about. This is your to watch starting in 4 days from the date of this recording. So by the time this recording's out, hopefully you'll be enjoying this. On HBO, Murders at White House Farm, based off of a true story. I don't know a lot about these murders, but apparently lots of twists and turns. They took place in England. It looks like it happened over 2 nights. The parents were shot and killed inside their farmhouse, along with their adopted daughter, her twin sons. The only surviving member was their adopted son, who said he had been at home a few miles away when the shooting took place. So there's all kinds of twists and turns in this. It kind of looks like sort of like Amityville, not Amityville, the actual ghost story, but the original murder where they still can't figure out how members of the family got killed without the other members of the family hearing it. It's going to be, or maybe like the Unsolved Mysteries, the House of Terror episode, where like the father disappears and the family is found buried underneath the house. It sounds like it's going to be like that. It's a limited series. I think it's like 6 episodes, but it drops on the 24th of September. And then the rumor is, this is not confirmed, this did have to be pushed back due to pandemic, but Stranger Things season 4 is rumored to possibly drop on September 28th, but I have seen no promotion, so I don't feel like they would do it in a week from now.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening. Seriously, I have too many technologies that I have to be responsible for, and I don't know where it's coming from.
I'm not going to be in charge of your tech, that's for sure. So there's that. Stranger Things season 4, possibly end of September, possibly October, if not. October, there is a series of films from Blumhouse, whom we generally love almost all of their movies. Welcome to Blumhouse. Get ready for another look into Blumhouse directors of 4 upcoming thrillers being released under the banner Welcome to Blumhouse. We'll debut trailers for their movies at a virtual panel. Okay, so they're going to do a virtual panel. But in the meantime, the first film drops on October 6th. The 4 films are The Lie, The Black Box, Nocturne, and Evil Eye. So there's not a lot of information about what the movies are actually about, but it looks like it's going to be a good time. And like I said, it's 4 full-length films to enjoy, and it's going to be streaming on Amazon Prime.
I know the movies are all supposed to be linked together. Yeah, they're all supposed to be related and like together in some way. I don't know how. So I've been waiting on these forever. Let me tell you something. I thought these were coming out September 6th and not October 6th. And on September 6th, I was in Amazon desperately looking for these. I was so disappointed when I realized it was October 6th. I'm like, fuck.
Well, it looks like there's more information. There's a website called Black Girl Nerds, and there's more information because they did a panel talking about these films. So you'll probably get more information there. October 9th, as I mentioned before, The Haunting of Hill House, the Bly Manor series is dropping, and I don't really care about anything else. La 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 la. I just I just want to watch that. So I will see you all there starting on October 9th and probably ending on October 10th when we haven't slept and we've watched the whole thing and can't sleep ever again.
Pretty much.
Rebecca, as I mentioned, it actually drops, the film on Netflix drops October 21st. And that one has Armie Hammer and who's the other woman? She's beautiful. Hold on 2 seconds. Let me find her name for you. Very much prepared in advance. Such wow. Lily James. Lily James and Armie Hammer are the couple, which already, to my mind, really updates the story. And it looks like there is some sexy times in it, which because the film came out, back when that was so taboo, there were no sexy times, but there's so much lust implied that I'm super excited to see two hot actors going at it in a spooky, dishy film. So enjoy that. And then season 2 of Unsolved Mysteries does not have an exact date, but it is scheduled for release to Netflix in October of 2020.
Oh, I hope it stays as good as the first one.
Netflix's ass is going to be asking every single one of us, are you still there? Because we're just going to be glued to our couches for the entire month of October.
Yeah, they're tearing shit up, man. I like, there's a meme going around that it's like an old lady and her granddaughter's like helping her with something. And she's like, Netflix used to be mailed to your house. And she's like, okay, grandma, take your pills. Like, you're crazy. It's like seeing the evolvement of Netflix as people that remember, literally getting Netflix in the mail movies to watch.
Keeping the same DVD for like months.
Oh, yeah.
Mailed it back. Yeah.
And then, because we love Netflix so much because Blockbuster was such a fucking ripoff and they, penalized you so horribly for holding on to a movie where Netflix was really chill about it. Oh, you want to watch it longer? Okay. Or, oh, you're running late. That's okay. They weren't as crazy about fees and stuff as Blockbuster was. So when Netflix came out, you didn't need to leave your house. You could just get it in the mail and they were super chill about when you could get it turned in.
Journey with us kids into the history of Netflix.
Exactly. And so to see how far they've come, like the brilliance of what they've done as a company is just mind-boggling to me. I mean, I honest to God think they are solely responsible for the digital movie production house situation that all these other, companies are trying to replicate. I mean, they created that. And it just, they just keep up in their game. Like they do not stop. And they're not one of those people that like, okay, I invented this and now I'm going to be lazy and let other people surpass me. No, they just keep on fucking killing it. So I have mad respect for them.
Yes. And the only other thing in this lengthy episode that I want to give honorable mention to, because our regular listeners will know how excited we were about this, but Candyman reboot, which was called Candyman 2020, is now Candyman 2021. It was supposed to come out. It was supposed to come out in October. The damn film is finished and exists and is somewhere, but because movie theaters haven't fully reopened and or aren't getting the amount of people that they want to be having butts in seats, they went ahead and pushed it back. And it's right now, now I see, originally scheduled for, they pushed it from June to October of this year. Now it's sometime in 2021. So,
I wish they just release it online. Come on, people would pay $20 to watch that movie.
Tenet didn't do nearly as well, which Tenet was filmed, though, on IMAX for IMAX. So I feel like a different thing, but it didn't do as well as they had hoped as far as like, that was kind of the test to see theater reopening if people were going. And because it didn't do as well, which I heard a lot of people that didn't even enjoy the movie.
I don't even know that. I don't even know what that is.
That was the newest Christopher Nolan. It starred Robert Pattinson and everybody. And it was the big Christopher Nolan film that was supposed to be the film of the summer. And it did well, but it didn't do what they expected because people weren't going to the theater and they weren't going to release it digitally because it wasn't even filmed for regular television. So anyway, now that they've seen that, they being corporate greed machine of movies, not Jordan Peele and everyone involved with Candyman, they did push back this film yet again. And it kills me to know that it's made and that it's there somewhere. And I want to like storm someone's castle and like steal it and watch it and love it. But anyway.
Yeah, you guys are going to have to let that go and let us watch it for the love of God, because all this buildup is going to make us, because we keep building it up and building it up and building it up, and then it and then we just keep getting disappointed.
Well, and when you look at post-pandemic, hopefully we'll be out living lives again, and we're not going to be, it's not going to be the same excitement. There'll be other things going on. So
right.
Give it to us now while we're thirsty. That's what I'm trying to say.
Give it to me.
And with that is basically everything that we have been watching and everything that we will be watching, things we recommend, things that we don't, and of course reading, because reading is for nerds. But we hope you enjoy some of these recommendations. We would love to hear yours.
Yes.
We do get the occasional message from people with recommendations, so please send those our way.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to say that I know from talking to other podcasters that listenership has drastically gone down for a lot of podcasts. Ours hasn't gone down that much, and actually, our following has drastically increased on our host site, which is Podbean. I know a lot of people watch it or listen to us from iTunes, but we are hosted from Podbean, and so we get listeners from there. And we just surpassed 2,000 followers on Podbean. Like, that to me is amazing because there's not a lot of podcasts on Podbean that get followers. There's just not. And so thank you guys who are listening, and we hope that you're new and that you stick around. We've also got an increase in reviews, and thank you. Some of them aren't good, but hey, you know what? I'm fine with that. You're not upsetting me. So I encourage anybody who loves the show to make a review too. Not everybody, squeaky wheels don't just get greased. We do give shout outs to people who reach out and say hi or give us a review. Yes, we blather on. This is not our fucking day job, or this is not our real job. We have day jobs. Some of us have like 3 day jobs, and we do this because we like it, and we like interacting with each other, and we love talking about this content. So are we professionals? No. Do we want to be professionals? No, I'm good with my job. Yeah. I'm like happy with what I do during the daytime. So
thank you very much.
We keep it real because we keep it real and keep it real. And we're very aware of our lack of professionalism. And honest to God, I want it that way. I don't want it to be serious all the time. I listen to those that are serious, and I listen to some that don't take themselves seriously. And we created this one to just have fun with it. So I appreciate everybody's support, and congratulations to us for surpassing 2,000 followers on Podbean. Like, that just blows my mind. Like, when I look at the pie chart of where our listeners are come from, Podbean's like 6% of our listeners. So if you've got 2,000 listeners on Podbean and they only account for 6%, that kind of shows you that the show's doing great. And we haven't skipped and lost that much traction since the quarantine. And I think that really...
Our listeners love us, and we love our
Exactly.
listeners.
You guys, just because you guys come back regardless of what's going on in your lives. And that's like really big to me. I love that. And so I encourage you guys to interact with us online any way you'd like. We've actually become friends with some of our listeners. Stephanie, I love her. She's adorable. And she's always literally just sending me messages and checking in on me every once in a while. Like, hey, how are you? Are you doing okay? I mean, she's just awesome. So we've gotten other listeners that I've become friends with, Slasher Trash. He is a huge horror movie fanatic, and I think he lives in the UK, and started following us and listening to our show, and he just became like co-producer of a horror movie. Like, he made his dreams a reality, and it's happening, and he's trying to set up an interview with the star of the movie and the main producer. So just like crazy little connections that we get through the show. I love that. And I love the doors that it's opened to us for things that we love. So thank you guys for that. And with that, you guys can follow us on Facebook at The Creepin' It Real Show. We post stupid memes and funny stuff and ask questions and interact with people on there quite a bit. And we're also on Twitter at creepin_it. I haven't started a TikTok. I've been kind of going back and forth with it. I
feel like I need one just so that I can defy current American political issues with TikTok. they're going to be banning it soon, so I need one.
Yeah, well, you definitely. I am on TikTok. I've never posted a video. I just watch it. But I've been.
I want your ass dancing, girl.
I don't do that. My kids would literally die of embarrassment if they saw my ass dancing on TikTok.
That's exactly why I would do it.
They're old enough to be embarrassed by me, even though like I have more followers than them, and they don't give a shit. They are like, you are not like my funnest threat is to find all the embarrassing photos that they have from growing up and posting them on my social media if they don't do something. Like, okay, fine, I have that video of you crying over eating broccoli. I can just post that. Oh no, God, no, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. So it's a great thing to have to blackmail your kids to do what you need to do. But I mean, there is a huge area which I've just now started getting videos of lots of paranormal and alien and fun conversations on TikTok. A lot of it is total bullshit. A lot of time travelers, quote unquote, on there. And one of them is saying something huge is going to happen on September 24th. So I will know if he's legit or not on September 24th. But it's just fun to watch, and a lot of times I scroll through that bullshit. But there's a lot of fun paranormal, like ghost hauntings that people are getting on. And again, you take it with a grain of salt, but it's pretty interesting. And I personally love TikTok. I get on there, and it's a time vortex that sucks me in. And it's been 3 hours, and I don't even know. Like I blinked, and all of a sudden I turned my phone off, and it's been 3 hours, and I'm like, holy shit. So it's a dangerous app to have, but it's also fantastic. So I'm toying with the fact that maybe we should start doing some fun stuff on TikTok, but I don't know what. Like, I'm not sure. Maybe we should do movie reviews on there. I don't really know. I don't know what we should do. Give us your ideas if you think something would be interesting content but it's all video. So, and I don't want my old ass being on a video. So I don't know. We'll see.
I just signed up, so I'm here now.
I am creeping at Christy, I'm pretty sure, on there.
I'm Moni Bear 1.
Okay. So yeah, y'all can find me at Creeping at Christy, I'm pretty sure. Same as my Instagram handles, which is what I was getting ready to give you. I'm on Instagram a lot. I don't do a lot of paranormal stuff on there. I'm starting to go back to it. I'm like, I have a lot of other hobbies and interests, so you'll see me kind of all over the place, and that's okay. So I talk about my job on there. I talk about makeup and whatever floats my boat for that day. And you are what on Instagram?
Moni Bear 1. I'm Moni Bear on everything now. Put it that way. TikTok, I'm Moni Bear 1. Moni Bear on Instagram. And on Twitter as well.
And by bear, she means Barre, not the animal. So don't be looking for Moni Bear.
Barre.
With that, y'all, thank you again for tuning in. Another podcast in the books. I don't even know how many we have now. I've lost count. We've been doing this for 4 years almost now. Yeah. So yeah, thanks. And with that, y'all, creep it real, and we'll catch ya on the flip side.